Welcome to Retirement UTV. My name is Cynthia DeFazio. I'm joined today by Tim Lofton, and Tim is the CEO of the Retirement Blueprint. Tim, how are you today?
I am doing well, Cynthia. How about you?
I am doing fantastic. It's so good to see you again. How's everything going for you?
Going well, going well. The kids are back in school, which is good.
Yeah.
Like in-person learning. So
right.
That's
which for a while was a thing of the past.
Yeah, that was. I'm not set up to be a home school teacher. I've figured that out. When I have to Google my daughter's math homework, that's not good. Somebody more skilled should be taking that. I have a lot of respect for teachers.
Well, let's talk about that for a second, because not only did you have that going on, but you also have two new additions to your family. So let's talk about your two new additions.
So we have two new puppies.
Yay!
We have a boxer puppy, and then we have a mix that we got from the Dayton Humane Association.
Okay.
And they are fantastic most of the time.
Okay.
So we had a boxer for 13 and a half years, and she just passed away a few months ago.
Oh,
and so it was a really big impact on our family, and just, I had her in my office every day, sleeping, of course, but laying in her bed, and she was there, and it was a really tough time.
Yeah, they are part of the family.
We have these two new little puppies, and in between playtime, they still sleep in the office with me. So
I love that.
Great.
And you and I were on a Zoom call one time, and I remember, I think you had Amazon come to the door.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, it was mass chaos. You're like, excuse me for one moment. I love that. Well, I am so glad, and I love that we're doing the shows together, Tim, because I know the viewer response has been amazing. We gauge that by the amount of lights that are coming up on the phone, if you will, as we're going to the commercial break. So the last time we were on air together, actually last week, we had a caller that we were not able to address his questions. Okay. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to run with it right out of the gate. Okay. Actually, this is a great question. It says, I have a question. I am from Kettering. I would like to know, Tim, what is the biggest surprise expense in retirement? Oh,
it's a great question. So it's not what you think. It's actually taxes. Taxes are, without a doubt, the largest expense that we see in retirement. And the reason is that if you look at what most retirees own, their largest investments are typically what? A 401k, an IRA, 403b, tax-deferred plans. And they're great plans while we're saving, right? I mean, the IRS doesn't tax us along the way, but when we go to take money out, it becomes taxable. And so the difference, one of the things that we try to educate our clients on, is that the number you see on your statement is not what you really have. Because let's take, for example, someone that has $1 million IRA.
Okay.
It's $1 million on their statement, but if they were to take all of that money out of their IRA, it's probably $750,000.
Wow.
So that's a pretty big difference in actual value versus what they could actually take out. And so when we're thinking about retirement planning, the tax component, as you know, we have kind of a process, the Retirement Blueprint.
I'd love to pull up your graph if we could, because I think it's an amazing process that you've put together called the Retirement Blueprint.
So yeah, if you look at our process on screen, you'll see that one of the cornerstones of retirement planning is actually tax planning. And remember, we've talked in other shows that the difference between tax planning and tax preparation. Tax planning is what I'm talking about now, when we're taking a look at how are we going to pull money out of retirement, and what's the best way to do that, and over what period of time. It becomes very important that we have a CPA sitting at the table with us to help us make those decisions, and to think not just over this year or next year or the next 5 or 10 years, but really looking down the road at what the plan needs to be.
Okay, absolutely. Let me ask you a question also. If people are working with a CPA right now, Tim, how important is it to have a CPA and a financial advisor at the same table working hand in hand?
It's essential.
Okay.
Our team is divided up very specifically to areas of expertise. And so, for the viewers at home, you're paying fees to all these different advisors, right? You have a wealth management person and a CPA and estate planning attorney, and so you're paying each of those for advice. But if you're paying them for advice and they're not all talking to each other, are you getting the best advice? And so one of the things with our process is dividing up the areas of expertise with the plan.
Okay.
And so having each one of those people sitting around the table together ends up with a better plan, and it doesn't cost any more money.
Okay.
It's the same cost.
That's fantastic. And let's talk a little bit about the importance of working with the fiduciary. Tim, what are your thoughts on that?
Thank you. The word fiduciary wasn't even a thing 3 years ago. And because of the Department of Labor of Rule and the media, people are now, they have an awareness of the difference that, a fiduciary can make, and that their role is to make sure that they're putting their client first in everything that they do. And so while that seems like that would just be automatic, and I think for most people it is, I do believe that in our industry, most people have their client's best interest at heart.
Sure.
But the fiduciary role, it's that extra level where somebody knows that they're getting the best advice, and it's advice that is going to be put in front of maybe the advisor or the firm that they're working for. And so I think it's important.
I do too. I do too, Tim. How important is communication between an advisor and the client?
Well, it's essential.
Okay.
We joke all the time that we blueprint people's lives. That's what the retirement blueprint is we put together a plan that is designed around each client. It's not a one size fits all, and so it's a custom plan. And then we do life together. That's what our role is. And if you think about it, for every advisor, whether it's taxes or an accountant that's helping with that, or an estate planning attorney, our job is to live life with our clients. We don't have an event where we do one thing and then we're done. It's a continual thing because things change.
Absolutely.
Right?
Especially as we went through last year, of course, 2020, we had so many changes. You had people that were retiring early that weren't planning on it. You had adult children moving back in with parents sometimes. There were so many changes. So the plan has to be easily adjustable, correct?
It has to be. And that's the whole idea of the retirement blueprint is designed around the idea not of here's what's going to happen, but more importantly, if things don't happen the way that they're supposed to, we have contingencies in place to make sure that each of the things that could potentially go wrong, that we have a plan for, which takes it off people's plate, because that's, fear is a horrible way to go through retirement.
Absolutely.
And we have enough things going on today with COVID and all of these other things to worry about without worrying about our financial plan.
I agree. Well, Tim, this is the perfect time for us to go ahead and open up the phone lines for the first time this week.
All right.
To the viewers at home, the number on your screen to call is 855-684-3485. If you have questions about how to plan your perfect retirement, Tim has the answers for you. All you have to do is pick up the phone and call. He's offering 10 complimentary consultations today, basically a risk analysis, if you will, a riskalyze report. Correct, Tim?
Right. That's it.
That'll be to the first 10 callers only. All you have to do is take that first step, which is pick up the phone and call, and I can see the phones are already lighting up. Once again, 855-684-3485. We do have to take a very short commercial break, but when we come back, I'm going to have some more questions for Tim, actually that came from you, the viewers, so stay tuned. You don't want to miss.
As you prepare for, transition into, and navigate retirement, there's one thing you're sure to have: questions. Lots of questions about retirement. Like, when can I retire? Will I run out of money? Who pays for nursing home care? And many, many more.
Axum Planning and Wealth Management uses the Beta Blueprint retirement planning software to help answer your questions.
This program takes stacks of documents from every area of your financial life and converts them into one large picture. Just as you would never buy a house without seeing it first, why would you ever retire without being able to visualize it? By being able to see the whole picture, you can then make better decisions about your retirement. First, the blueprint looks at your top goals and concerns. Then, we look at your age and the trigger age decisions you have to make, like when to take Social Security, Medicare, and required minimum distributions. Next, we analyze your fixed income streams and compare that to your retirement lifestyle. For most people, their lifestyle exceeds their income, so we determine which assets to tap to make up the difference. When looking at assets, there are 3 key numbers we want you to know. The first number is the risk score of what you own. Every investor has a risk tolerance, and every investment has a risk score. The risk scale runs from 1 to 99, and the S&P 500 has a score of 78. We use a scientific framework that won the Nobel Prize for Economics for its ability to identify true risk tolerance. If you were taking too much risk, when would you want to know? The second number we want to know is the maximum drawdown of what you own. Maximum drawdown is the maximum loss from a market peak to a market trough. The maximum drawdown of the S&P 500 in 2008 was about 51%. What was the maximum drawdown of what you own? And the third number is your annual withdrawal rate percent. If you're taking too much here, you could run out of money. Finally, we look at your insurance and long-term care. Do you have life insurance? If so, what type, and does it expire? We analyze the income reduction from losing a spouse. We want to know if the surviving spouse will be protected. Have you planned for long-term care? Do you know all your health care options? Being able to put all this information in picture format is like watching holistic planning come to life. Your financial picture helps us identify the potential cracks and red flags in your overall retirement plan. Remember, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Discover the power of the picture for your retirement. Learn how to get a blueprint of your life.
And welcome back to Retirement UTV. My name is Cynthia DeFazio. I'm joined today by Tim Lofton, and he is CEO of the Retirement Blueprint. And again, Tim, I love seeing the phones light up like crazy. So we do have some viewer questions, and I'd love to just jump right in because I love how they keep kind of coming in every week, if you will. This was a great question. He said, Tim, I have a question, and he's from Dayton. He said, did the IRS just change the rules on IRAs?
That is a great question. Indeed, they did.
Okay.
In 2020, we had the Secure Act, and the I like to say that anytime that the IRS gives us something, they typically take something away.
Okay.
And this is it. The King James version, they giveth and they taketh away. This is that. So what they gave us was additional time on how long till at what age, I guess I should say, that you have to start taking money out of your IRAs. So remember that required minimum distribution rule.
Sure.
And it used to be at 70 and a half. You would have to start taking money out. There's a formula that the IRS has, and you'd have to start taking money out, and you would have to do that basically for the rest of your life. Well, they changed that. Now it's 72. So
Much
they gave
easier.
us, a whole extra year and a half to defer and an extra year and a half of savings. So that's the good news. The bad news is that they took away one of our most powerful tools for planning, and that was that stretch IRA, where basically you could pass on to your kids, to your grandkids, and they could continue to defer that money for their entire life. And so it wasn't uncommon, for a client to pass away, a daughter maybe 40 years old inherits, a couple $100,000 IRA, and it ends up being a multi-million-dollar IRA over her lifetime. Because think about it, she's going to be able to defer that money for 30, 40, 50 years. Wow. And so they've changed that rule.
Okay.
The new rule says that you have 10 years to take the money out. Now, spouse to spouse, we're still the same. So, for husband to wife, wife to husband, nothing has changed. You still have the lifetime deferral on that money. But for anyone else, kids, grandkids, they have 10 years to take that money out. And so different plan, different planning tools. And as we always joke with the IRS, if you don't like that rule, just hang around. I'm sure they'll change it again. But for right now, that's the new environment that we have from a planning standpoint.
Well, and I'm glad actually, because 72 is a lot easier to remember than 70 and a half. It's
right.
like, how do you even figure that out? Like, oh my gosh, okay, 6 months into the calendar year, if you will, but I would be, you'd have to have a little alarm on your phone.
Well, it's even funnier than that, right? Because it's not, what happens if my 70 and a half is into the next year?
Yeah.
And then there's another rule that's, allowed you to defer the first payment, and if you were born in a certain, it was very confusing. So
Yes.
72 is definitely an easier number.
Absolutely. And I love this question, Tim. Actually, it's someone who called in who said they love your retirement blueprint. They would like to know if you could go through the coordinates one more time of what makes that blueprint.
Sure. Do we have that graphic?
We should have that graphic actually pretty close by again.
So if you look at our plan, we build it around what we call the 5 cornerstone essentials. And so the 5 cornerstones of planning, as we define them, is having an income plan, an investment plan, a tax plan, a health care plan, which takes in everything from Medicare to long-term care planning, and then of course the estate plan wraps around that whole package to make sure that things are working out the way they're designed to do. And most importantly, it puts your plan in writing. And for our viewers at home, I can't tell you how important it is that what you have up here, what you've talked with your spouse about, that it actually ends up in writing and is prepared by a professional attorney that specializes in that area of law.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about that, because if someone does have a plan in place, Tim, how important is it to have even your beneficiaries current and lined up, if you will?
Wow. I will tell you, there are so many times that we've actually made a beneficiary review an annual process in our office.
That's a great idea.
And I'll tell you a little story. So we had a client, she was older, she was in her 80s, and she had 14 grandkids.
Okay.
And they were her beneficiaries. And every year we would have that list, and I would show her the list, and she would go down them, and she would take her pen and she'd be like, yes, yes, yes. Nope, and she'd draw a line through them, and she
Like
would
if
change
she was mad?
if she was mad at them, and she would actually take
That's
them.
cute.
She would take them off of her beneficiary. We'd do new paperwork, but it's very important. I will tell you, even in trust planning, how many clients have come into our office who have a trust, paid for a trust, have the documents, but never retitled their accounts in the name of the trust.
Oh, wow.
Now, that's partially on the attorney.
Okay.
But I'll also say it's also on the client, right? I mean, it's your responsibility to make sure that things are titled the way that you want them to be titled. And for our viewers at home, I'll tell you, you have to take this seriously. This is a very important part of retirement, is making sure that the people that you love and care about are going to get what you think they're going to get. And the only way that happens, as Cynthia, as you know, that it has to be in writing.
Absolutely, it has to be a plan. Well, Tim, this is the perfect time for us to go ahead and reopen the phone lines. Would you agree?
Sure, let's do it.
To the viewers at home, the number on your screen is the one to call. That number is 855-684-3485. We realized in the past that the phone lines have been busy, so we added the additional phone line for your convenience. Again, the number is 855-684-3485. What you're calling in for today is a complimentary consultation, a risk-alize report, if you will. Let Tim take a look at what you currently have in place. Is it the right plan for you? Is it going to weather any storm? A plan that you had made perhaps a year ago isn't going to fit you this year and perhaps 5, 10, 15 years down the road. Like Tim says, he wants the opportunity to do life with you. Again, all you have to do today is pick up the phone and call. The number is 855-684-3485. We'll be right back after this very short commercial break.
When was the last time you saw your financial professional? Are you getting the most out of the strategy that was created for you? Although you've done a great job finding someone to help plan for your future, are you 100% sure that you were given the right strategy? We can help answer these questions and more with a complimentary second opinion evaluation. We will take a look at what you have in place and then help determine if you're well positioned to get the most out of your future retirement income. In the event that it is not, we can help by making suggestions and showing you how to get on the right path. You wouldn't get just one opinion when it comes to a major health decision, so why would you treat your most important financial decision with such disregard? Call today for your no-cost, no-obligation second opinion evaluation to see if you're getting the most out of your retirement income plan.
Welcome back to Retirement U TV. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, and I'm joined today by Tim Lofton. And Tim is the CEO of the Retirement Blueprint. I love this. Otherwise, we talk about where you help people plan tomorrow, today. I love that tagline. It's perfect, actually. So let's talk a little bit, Tim, about the difference between tax preparation and tax planning. We talked about it in the beginning of the show, but let's dive a little bit further into that.
Sure. So, probably the best thing I can do is give you a client example of an area where we saw a huge impact on a client's life just based on the difference of actually doing tax planning. So the first thing to remember is that the IRS gives us the rules and the tools that we can utilize to put together our own plan.
Okay.
If we choose not to do that, the IRS has a plan.
Okay.
And so for our viewers at home, you get to decide, are you going to go with the IRS's plan or are you going to go with your plan? Because, as you can imagine, the planning is different, right?
Oh, totally.
And
I'm
so
just thinking, yes.
Thinking through, for example, we talked about, required minimum distribution right before we went to break. And required minimum distribution is easily understandable because the IRS actually has a website. You can actually Google, what is my RMD? And the IRS has a website. You put in your age and how much you have in your IRA, and it'll tell you every year exactly how much you're going to have to take out. So we know the numbers. Okay. It's not a mystery. And I think a lot of times the mistake that people make is that they don't look far enough out when they're doing their RMD planning. And so we had a client that came in, no kids. They had about $2.5 million in IRA assets, and their concern was, how are we going to figure out our estate plan, and we don't really have beneficiaries, and that was kind of why they came in. It was really for estate planning. Okay. And the question that I asked, I said, what about the tax part? We talked about required minimum distribution. They said, oh, Tim, we're good. We're totally good. The amount that we have is going to generate the amount of money we need in retirement. When I turned 70 and a half, because it was 70 and a half at the time before they just this year changed it to 72. Right. The amount that they were going to receive was exactly what they needed in addition to their pension and their Social Security. Okay. And I said, well, that's great. I said, I understand that at 70 and a half it works out. I said, what about at age 90? And they're like, well, what do you mean? I said, well, at age 90, their required minimum distribution went from the amount of money they needed to about $650,000 a year that they did not need. Oh my. And so, a lot of times you'll see people talking about things like Roth conversions and things of that nature in trying to help prepare for or eliminate, or we talk a lot in tax world that we're not in the tax elimination business, we're in the tax minimization business. Sure. And that's exactly it. The problem is, I think for a lot of folks, they have that upfront tax that they have to pay a lot of times to gain that long-term benefit. Okay. And so I think that's the wrestling match that a lot of people have. But wouldn't you rather have the number sitting in front of you to look at versus just crossing your fingers and hoping it all works out? Most definitely. And again, what it comes down to, Tim, is having a plan, but most importantly, having an advocate on your side to help you with every step of that plan. Would you agree? Absolutely. I mean, having a team that is looking out for your best interests in each of the different areas of an investment plan, an income plan, a tax plan, healthcare and long-term care plan, and then of course your estate plan is essential for every retiree.
Absolutely. Tim, let me ask you a question. What does it feel like when someone comes into your office? What can they expect?
Well, a smile.
Okay.
That's the first thing. When you come into our office, they're gonna meet Shannon, and she's always smiling. So even with a mask on, she still smiles. So that's really great. But I think the first thing that people are going to notice is that it's different. We don't start talking about, the idea of, our wealth management team is not immediately giving them investment advice and showing them these charts of, how their money is going to grow. That's not what it's all about. I mean, we start out with actual planning and getting to know people. And our first meeting is really just that. It's getting to know someone, understanding their family dynamic and what their hopes and dreams and aspirations are.
So very conversational.
Totally conversational.
Okay. Are there any documents people need to be bringing with them, Tim, for their first meeting with you?
Yes, there is. In fact, we send out an email that basically outlines what people are to bring to the office, and it gives them kind of a step-by-step of what they should put together. And it's very important that people are coming to the office with the different things, and most people have that. They have that 3-ring binder seems what they come in with, and it's kind of got everything laid out, and they're kind of looking at it from the standpoint of here's my stuff.
Sure.
And then we take that and we put together a blueprint and take all the stuff in that 3-ring binder and put it on one piece of paper.
Okay.
And it really makes a difference.
Absolutely. Let me ask you a question. If someone is perhaps in the audience right now and they're 5 years away from retirement, what's the most important advice you have them? We have less than a minute left.
Call our phone number.
Okay.
That's that 855-684-3485, and schedule a time. I mean, for our viewers, this is your opportunity to take all the hard work of 20, 30, 40 years and everything that you have done up until this point. You owe it to yourself and your family to put a plan together to make sure that you are going to be taken care of and that they're going to be taken care of.
Tim, thank you so much for another amazing show, and I know the viewers are enjoying all the information you're providing, so thank you again for coming in.
Thanks.
To the viewers at home, thank you for spending time with us again this week. We know you have questions about retirement. Tim has the answers for you. The number is on your screen. Thank you again for watching. Be safe, be happy, be blessed, and we'll see you back next week.